All right, we should be live. This is not going to be polished by any stretch of the imagination because I'm figuring all this stuff out. But hello, this is not going to be polished by any. Should probably explain stretch of the imagination because I'm at the moment figuring all this stuff out. I'm in a no hide, but hello, this is not going to be polished by any. Should probably explain stretch of the imagination because I'm at the moment figuring all this stuff out. I'm in a no hide, but hello, this is not going to be polished. I'm in my own bigger than normally hide, but hello, this is not going to be. And I'm also testing my I'm in my own bigger than normally it's something I'm getting into on the commercial side, and I'm also I'm in my own bigger than something I'm getting into on the commercial side, and I'm in my own. Someone says I got doubled up. It's already going well. That should be fixed. Is the audio better now? So as I said, it's not going to be polished. But hello to everyone. Hello Alex, who is pointing out my mistakes. I appreciate that. And hello to Akhil. Let me know where you're all from, because this is quite cool. Cool. It's all fine now. Brilliant. And I've got a text from someone else saying that my audio is looping. Yes, I think I figured that out now. Anyway, so as I said, it's all new to me, this stuff, so it's a bit of an experiment. And just to kind of catch up with you guys and see what you've been up to, and let you know a little bit about what I've been up to in the past few months of all this crazy stuff that's going on. So yeah, I have got my main stills camera here. I am set up in my parents' garden, so it's not super remote. You can probably hear planes and cars and neighbours and stuff, but it is quite rural, so they get deer and badgers and all kinds of stuff in the garden in like late evening and early morning. So might be lucky enough to see something, or speaking of planes, but I might be a bit too noisy doing this stuff to actually find anything. But I've got the camera set up here, so I can roam around and take a picture. So I'll just take a picture of this tree here, and then in theory I should be able to show you that like that. So I can kind of show you pictures as I'm taking them if I take anything interesting. This tree is a huge tree. It's kind of the biggest one in their garden, and it's all like wire thin during winter, and then it just is big and bushy during summer. But it's just started to drop leaves, and they go, can you see that? What's the best way of showing you that? They go really dark red, almost come over at 5 o'clock. And it's just crazy that, like, for me this is a sign of autumn, and I feel like we've only just started spring. I don't know where time has gone. Hello Pete from Ireland. Oh, I have a warning. Okay, hello. Yeah, it's nice to see everyone kind of coming on. I'm trying to juggle all these things because I'm trying to view. Anyway, this is weird. Also, as a side note, if any potential clients on the commercial video side of things see this as a demonstration of my live streaming capabilities, just know that I'm much better when I'm not trying to talk as well. But yeah, so I also threw out something on Instagram earlier asking for questions. So I thought I'd start with one of them because I thought it was quite topical. Someone said, any tips on how to capture wildlife photography when your state enforces a mandatory lockdown? And obviously this is something we are all going through at the moment, or like have been going through for a while. And it's something that I've been struggling with, isn't really the right way of putting it, but like it's made it very obvious to me that I don't actually do a lot of photography when I'm at home. For the past few years I've been in this pattern where I go away for 2 or 3 weeks at a time and shoot wildlife photography, film, like kind of capture stories and stuff like that. And then I come back and I edit that and I do all the work I do here, but I don't really go out and photograph in the UK at home. And then a few months later I'll go away again. And that's cool because I'm always seeing exotic locations and exotic species, and everything's always amazing and colourful and different. But I must admit I'm really bad at focusing on stuff closer to home. And in these past few months I've really tried to hone in on that kind of stuff and those like longer term projects, because I think the one tip I have for you is those things that you think are boring, whether they're pigeons or just garden birds or rats or just anything that you see around you every day and you just kind of don't think twice about, you have a really unique access to those animals. Because this person that asked the question, I think said they were in Australia. Now I'm sure you've got garden birds and insects and lizards and snakes and all kinds of stuff that you see regularly that are like someone like me would just be astounded by, because I never see them. And you have this unique access to actually, what am I trying to say, to actually tell that story and capture all those nuances of their behavior and their life cycle, which someone like me, if I went over there for a few weeks or a month, I would really struggle to capture all of that behavior, because it's just, I'd have to be very lucky, you know. So I would just suggest focusing on what you see all the time, and what, like, try and find the most boring animals or the most boring plants and tell those stories, because you'll be able to tell them in a way that no one else will. So yeah, that would be my suggestion. And speaking of which, I thought I am set up to show you some stuff that I've been doing recently, which so I've just bought a house with my girlfriend this year, amidst all this other craziness going on. And between moving out of our flat and moving into our house, we came here and stayed with my parents for a bit. And just for a bit of fun, I set up this busted up old trail camera that I've got. I think it was like 30 or 40 pounds. It's nothing special. The quality is a bit rubbish. But I set it up in the garden, just in a few places, to see what was around and see what I could find. And almost immediately, I was finding stuff that I had no idea was here. So let's see if this works. Should do. This is just a cat. I assume it's a local cat, but I've never seen that around, you know. And then, so that's not the most exciting, but I also caught these pigeons. So obviously pigeons come down like other birds and they'll pick up twigs and things like that, and then make nests with them. This was my favourite clip. This pigeon kept coming down to this same little alleyway, and it would just constantly, day in, day out, pick up twigs and fly away with them. But I just like this one because it's really kind of struggling with it. And every time you think it's got a good grasp on it, it just drops it again. And then just when you think it's going to fly away, it just waddles off. But what I love about this is that, like, it's proper behavior that's undisturbed. I wasn't there in person, so it wasn't kind of being cautious around me. That's just a pigeon going about its business. And I saw so much of that kind of stuff on this trail camera. And I started seeing mammals, like I saw mice and squirrels, and then these little foxes, which I assume they're young. They're very scrawny, but every couple of days I'd see a little one running through. And yeah, it was just like really interesting to discover, literally on the front doorstep in the back garden, all these battles for life that you just don't know are there. So I kind of just kept putting this camera out until I finally saw this, which, as soon as I saw that stripy little face, I was like, on the back of the trail camera, I was just ecstatic. Because I never see badgers. I only see them dead on the side of the road, and they're such an iconic British species. And it turns out we've had them here running through the garden several times a week, and just watching them behave naturally and kind of seeing their character, it's just been really cool. So obviously they keep coming through, which is like, this is a bit of a montage of the clips I had. But what this did prompt me to do was finally finish setting up my trail camera. My camera trap. Last year I tried to build my own camera trap with a spare, like old DSLR body, and I'm quite technical and I'm quite good with that kind of stuff, but I'm really bad at electronics and it really frustrates me. So I tried to build this motion sensor and it just all went wrong. So I abandoned that last year, but what I did is I kind of came back to it and I gave up and I bought all the right bits and pieces. I've got some cam tractions, sensors and triggers and stuff, and I've got a couple of Nikon SB28 flashes, and I built my own like waterproof housing for the camera and all that, and I started putting it out there. And to start with, because I was really scared of disturbing these badgers, I just put the camera set out, like I set it up there, but I didn't turn it on, just to see if they would be bothered by just like new stuff being around. And actually a few of those clips that you've just seen, they were kind of sniffing around, but they didn't seem too fussed. So I turned it all on, and in a few days I got this, which again, it's just that seeing those little stripes come through the darkness just made me really, really excited. But even this wasn't right, because one of the flashes I had set up died, so there was a second one set up further back which would have illuminated the kind of bum of it, and given it like the figure of the outline, the outline of its figure, and so that didn't go off, but it was a promising start. And then a week or two later, I managed to get this, which again just made me ridiculously happy. It's one thing photographing all these like lovely elephants and everything all around the world, but I think this is one of the most satisfying reveals on the back of a camera that I've had for a while. And I love how the shadows kind of perfectly balanced on the other side of the frame, and now this isn't completely undisturbed. You can see that it's curiously looking at the camera, but it's not scared. It's not worried. It's just, or panicked. It's just kind of curious, it's really lovely to see. Now, unfortunately, this also isn't perfect, because the badge is slightly too far forward in the frame. So the claws are perfectly in focus and the ears are perfectly in focus, but the eyes just are slightly soft. So I don't think this will end up in like a print collection or anything like that anytime soon, but it's just a really interesting step and a really exciting step in the right direction for this whole camera trapping project that I'm doing. So yeah, I think this is what I was talking about. It's just having that depth and like having the time to play around and perfect that composition and explore that animal's behavior. You just can't do if you're flying around the world everywhere. So I think, to the person who asked about photographing stuff just exactly where you are, this is what you should do. Just take your time and find those like perfect little moments and that perfect behavior. Hello, Annalie. Thank you for joining. I'm curious where everyone's from, but although I think, having a look at the list, I know most of you, so I kind of know where you are. But yeah, so I've also got a few other photos from lockdown. I made the most of going out and taking photos. Just like over in the UK, we had a period where we were only allowed to go out once a day for exercise. So it was kind of walking down nearby woodland, and there's a little pond and stuff. So we made the most of that every day, and just started to photograph those common species that you don't think twice about, like I was talking about. And this cheeky little squirrel was actually pretty much exactly where this hide is set up now. And this duck was on the local pond. It's a bit of a bittersweet story because we started going down there, and then there were these pair of ducks with 12 ducklings, and this was, in early spring, and it was lovely. Every day we went down, and I think I've got a photo of one of the ducklings here, yeah, and just watching them all kind of scurry around, and it was really lovely. And then one day we went down there, and there was just one duckling, no nothing else, and I don't know what happened to the others, but there was just one duckling, and then a few days later there was no duckling. So obviously I don't know what that could be. I don't know if a dog or a fox could wipe out 14 ducks all at once, or 13 ducks all at once. But yeah, that was a bit sad. And then I've just got a few other shots to show you. That. So this is a long-tailed tit. Again, nothing too exciting, but this was just like right outside the window. And this fledgling robin, which I've never seen this before. I assume it's a robin. I'm fairly certain it is. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But I just thought it was a cute little moment, which again, if I'm inside on the computer doing work, I normally miss these kinds of things in spring, so it's cool. And then a collared dove, and what else have I got? Oh, and I've got this blackbird, which I quite like this one. This was just calling at the end of the day, just one sunset, and the light was particularly nice, and it was just perched perfectly on top of this tree. So yeah, I mean, none of these things that I'm showing you right now are, oh, where am I? There I am. None of these are particularly amazing. They're not going to win awards or anything, but I think this whole collection of images. Oh, hello Ted. Oh, okay, it's good to know. Apparently the ducklings just became ducks and flew away overnight. So that's a happy ending, at least. I was worried then. Yeah, no, this whole collection of images is just like a bit of a time capsule for this time where we've been stuck at home, and I think I'm going to appreciate it for that, at least. But yeah, if anyone has any questions about wildlife photography or anything, please ask away. There's one, Bookalicious shots. I know with long lenses a blurred background will always be a part of it, but are there times where you include more environment? If so, when and how do you go about it? Yes, I do, and I think the simple answer is just I use a wider lens. I kind of, especially if I'm using my 100 to 400, I'll ease out to kind of the 100 to 200 range, because these really super long telephotos, like this 500mm here with the 1.4 converter, basically makes it 700mm. At that point, it's very difficult to get any kind of context or landscape in there. It's more about kind of portraiture then, I guess. So yeah, I mean, it's simply about just easing back. And funnily enough, part of this whole thought process I'm going through at the moment about trying to tell more stories rather than just showing pretty animals and in exotic locations is really I've been thinking about using wider and wider lenses, because at the moment a lot of the shots that I see on Instagram or online that really impress me and amaze me are wider, and they include more of the landscape and more of a kind of context for seeing the animal in. So I'm thinking about maybe getting something like a 35mm 1.4, something like that, and trying to become a better storyteller. But yeah, thank you for the question, Alex. Ted from Just Trek says, can you show us your camera view? I can. So I can point it at something. There we go. And then I should be able to show you like that. So this is just the output from my, oh, in fact, how's that? This is just the output of my 5D here. So as I move it around, you can see it's quite a tight view. So I've got this patch of grass here. This is gonna look awful. Patch of grass here, and then this big tree that I was saying about the leaves earlier. And then I've got this kind of hedgerow here, which occasionally these like birds come and perch in. So this isn't the most beautiful camera work right now, but I'm hoping that something might perch up there and get a nice backlit shot. I've seen a robin and some dunnocks and things like that flitting around this afternoon, so yeah, there's a chance. And also this this little bit at the back here is where deer sometimes come through, but like I said, I think I'm probably being a bit too noisy. So there we go. And I can also, if I do take a photo, I can show you the still, and you can pick apart my choice of ISO and shutter speed and all like that, like everyone else does on on social media. Yeah. Thank you. It is quite cool. This I must admit, this live streaming stuff is really fun. I've really enjoyed exploring this field because it's kind of adjacent to all the video stuff I've been doing in the past, but it's just a whole other side of it. I think it's almost like a theatre production. You have to have everything ready to go, and you can't edit out mistakes after the fact, and you can't edit out my rambling, which is well, Ted, as you know, you've edited me, you know that I do a lot of rambling. So yeah, it's got its pitfalls for me, but it's good. Yeah. Funnily enough, speaking of hides, I don't know if anyone saw the post I put on Instagram earlier, but I did a little flashback to I think it might actually been the last time I was in a hide. I was in Thailand in Kankachan National Park, and there were these silver-breasted broadbills that were nesting at the side of the road. And even though they were nesting right by where all the cars came past, I didn't want to disturb them. So I set up the hide on the other side of the road to film this. I should be able to show you some footage. So this pair of broadbills were just coming in and out and bringing all spiders' webs and all kinds of things to make their nest. Oh, sorry about that. And it was all going great, and I was very quiet in the hide until this happened. Well, it's a good job I'm in the hide, because I wouldn't want anything to disturb the birds, would I? Oh well. So yeah, I basically got bombarded. A whole busload of tourists, I think they were all bird photographers, saw that I was photographing something and just immediately piled out and stretched across the road, and kind of blew my cover there. But I stayed professional, I stayed quiet and in the hide, but it did kind of ruin the moment a little bit for me, but oh well. So Pete says, where do you plan to do your next live stream from? I don't know. If this goes well and if people enjoy it, I would like to do more of them. I might try and find a place with less planes. I think there's a limit to what I can do, like how remote I can take this, because obviously I need an internet connection. So at the very least I need good phone signal to be able to stream this. But I'm open to suggestions if anyone's got any ideas. I would like to maybe take it down to a lake or a bird hide or something. The other trouble is that the best time to be in the hide is first thing in the morning, early 5-6 a.m. But if I do that, no one's going to tune in and watch. So I don't know. In terms of how long it took me to set it all up, Annalie, as you know, it took a very long time. I set this all up yesterday, just as a little test, and then I packed it all down. And then today, it's maybe taken me an hour-ish to put it back together. The hardest, the biggest challenge with it all is that I'm in quite a confined space, so I can't really show you the rest of this now, but I've got a little table here with a live streaming switcher, I've got a little table here with my laptop, I've got this tripod, I've got a monitor on a little light stand here, and then this camera and a chair. So it's quite tight, and actually building it up around myself and then realizing I've forgotten a cable and I have to go outside again is a bit annoying. A few times I've just opened up this window and jumped out. But yeah. Alex says, what is the etiquette for shooting wildlife if there are other photographers around? I think just being respectful, as respectful as other photographers as you are of wildlife, is a good rule of thumb. That's certainly what I try to do. I don't want to get in the way of other people's enjoyment of wildlife. I don't own that wildlife. It's not my it's not mine to claim. And even though I might be doing something on a more professional level than they are, I don't want to barge in and be like, excuse me, I'm more important here. So I just kind of let those moments happen and play out. If someone's kind of leaning in with their point and shoots to try and get a photo, I don't want to stop them and be elitist about it, because it's people like that that will care about wildlife and do something and stand up and speak for it and protect it. So yeah, having said that, there are lots of photographers I've encountered who just treat it like trophy hunting, and they're there just to show off to their friends who got the best photo rather than actually considering the wildlife. And that's always upsetting to see. It's quite disappointing. But then I guess it's the same when you see any person being disrespectful of anything or anyone. So I think they are largely the minority. But yeah, I think you just have to be respectful of each other. I mean, the worst for me is when if someone's in a hide or in like a full camo ghillie suit and you accidentally walk past and then they go like this bush starts talking, going, "Oh, you're in my shot." I feel really bad when that happens because it's just purely accidental, and I've walked through where they've been waiting for hours for something to come out of a bush and you just wander through like that. It's pretty shit. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on these live things. Well, but yeah, I think that's all I have to say on that one. I wonder if I've got any more questions on Instagram. Let's have a look. I had a few questions, like I always do, saying, how did you get into the industry? What advice do you have for a 17-year-old? Okay, to be fair, they're not always 17. This particular one is 17. Just questions about how to do like wildlife stuff as a career. I always find that my answers are going to be disappointing for that topic because I don't think there's a set path, and I don't feel like I've really made it yet. And I know that when I speak to people that I look up to and think, oh my god, they're so far further down this path than I am, they don't feel like they've made it. I don't think there's ever a moment where you wake up and you go, right, I've done it. I'm a professional wildlife photographer, or I'm a, whatever, and that's it from like all plain sailing. I think it's not impossible, but I think it's very hard to achieve that security. My suggestion would be to always always let your passion lead, because if you don't have passion, I don't think you'll have like the perseverance to really make it happen. I know that I feel like I do have the passion, and even I struggle now and then to keep going and just make progress on it. But keep shooting constantly. Like we've talked about earlier, just all the local wildlife and the most boring subjects you can think of, like really develop stories around them. That's not only is it good practice, but it's good content, and it's good portfolio content. And then network. The amount of connections that I've made that have led to jobs or opportunities is just huge. But not going in and trying to pitch to people, but just hanging out with people and meeting them at events. Okay, I realize it's kind of difficult at the moment, but even just I have loads of Instagram relationships with people where we just always comment and chat, and we have a really nice back and forth. Those are the sort of connections where maybe I've had it a few times where someone else like that would be offered an opportunity, but they can't do it for whatever reason, and then they recommend me, or they recommend another friend. So you kind of get work through osmosis, I guess, in that respect. So yeah, just keep at it. But also, I would say, and I don't want this to be disheartening in any way, but that make sure you're doing it for the right reasons, because there's a potential you might lose your hobby. This started as a hobby for me that kind of snowballed into more than a hobby, and at times I struggle to just purely enjoy the hobby aspect of it because I feel like I'm struggling with work, which is silly. So I would just bear that in mind when you're really trying to pursue it. But I wish you all the best of luck, and if you do ever have any questions or need any help with anything, please just reach out to me on Instagram or wherever, and I will support you however I can. And there was one more question I saw just now, which was, do you have a standard gear list for every trip? I'll do this one next, because I think that's kind of the last one I've got on Instagram that's I haven't really covered. It depends on, and I know that everyone likes talking about gear, it depends on what I'm doing. So if it's a photo trip, or if it's a video trip, or a photo and video trip, it all kind of depends. I guess my most common type of trip is a photo and video trip, and for a kind of relatively lightweight one of those, I'll take my Canon 5D Mark IV and the GH5, the Panasonic GH5, which is pointing at me right now, and I have a kind of set of 3 lenses which pretty much cover all bases. So I've got this 18 to 35 1.8 lens from Sigma, which is filming me at the moment. I've got a 100 to 400 Mark II Canon lens, which is just nice and sharp. It like throughout the range. It's brilliant for filming because on the GH5 it's cropped in even further, but I can still kind of zoom out to 100 and get some more environmental shots like we were talking about earlier. But also it's really good for stills. And then I've got my Canon 100mm f2.8 macro lens, which covers any little details that I want to cover, or insects and things like that. So between the 3 of them I can pretty much cover anything I want to, unless it's super specialist. And yeah, it's not too heavy. It fits in a carry-on backpack, and then I have a tripod in my luggage case normally. Yeah, and then if I'm doing more photo focus stuff, I'll bring the big boy, which is this 500mm f4 Mark II from Canon, and I've got a 1.4 times teleconverter, which this is the Mark III one, which is I don't notice any drop in quality at all, so it pretty much just lives on there, and that makes this a 700mm f5.6, which is really great for stuff up in the trees or stuff further away, or getting really close detailed shots on like big animals like elephants. I don't know if you've seen my tusk shot, which is in my print shop on my website, shameless plug. That is an elephant that was quite close to me, with this lens, just kind of punching in for a detail, which is quite cool. But I don't tend to use this lens on my for filming because it's a bit too zoomed in, unless it's like a really specialized thing again. And yeah, that's kind of all I take really. If I'm doing more a video heavy trip, I've got motorized gimbal, motorized sliders, and all those kind of toys, and I've got loads of audio equipment because I've been getting into audio stuff recently, which has been fun, especially during lockdown. I built this little unattended listening post thing, so it's a pair of little lav microphones running in stereo into a handheld recorder, which will just run for 2 days at a time. So I left that out overnight and got some dawn chorus recordings, which are really nice. So yeah, I have lots of toys. It's just about picking combinations of them for the trip, I guess. I've got another comment I see from Ollie. Hello. Really good advice about networking and relationships. Surround yourself with passionate people and don't be scared to put yourself out there. Hi, by the way. Hello. Yes, absolutely. And a lot of the people in this chat that I can see right now are the passionate people that I surround myself with, who several of them kind of encouraged me to do this live stream thing. So thank you to you guys. Yeah, I'm pretty much running out of stuff to say right now, and I don't want this to drag on too much because I know I can ramble and probably have already. So if you've got any more questions, please fire them away. Unfortunately, I think I've been too noisy for any animals to do any actual live photography, but to be fair, I kind of expected that might be the case. Maybe next time I'll be a bit more quiet and we could do some more like proper photography and I can talk you through it. But yes, I think that's about it. If you've enjoyed this, please let me know, and you know, smash that like button, ring the bell, YouTube words, keywords, and yeah, I might do this again sometime, maybe next week, maybe the week after. Thank you, great live stream, I appreciate that. But yeah, otherwise have a great week, stay safe, and go out there, enjoy some nature, and take photos of it, or just enjoy it with your eyes. And I'll see you soon. Bye.